everyone, welcome back. My name is Lynn Wilson and welcome to my pantry. So Christmas is over, we're headed into the new year, and I have made some very intentional decisions about my life, boundaries in my life, and things that I want to change moving forward. We've been through a 2-year journey, a lot of us around the world, with just the way life has changed, and I have just found that I need to make some more intentional decisions about my family. Not only have there been changes in the world with everything that's been happening with shutdowns and sickness and illness and all the rest of it, but my personal life has changed in the last 2 years with who's in my family, who's not part of my family, who's in my home, who's not in my home, what we're doing, the type of work we're doing, the schedules that we keep. Our life in the last 2.5 to 3 years has drastically changed. And I think we're kind of coming down on the other side of it, where things are starting to sort of develop into the new norm of whatever that might be. And so I need to really do some intentional reorganizing and intentional repurposing and all kinds of stuff. So that makes for a good video. That makes for good inspiration for you all. So you saw in the beginning of my video, my disaster. My pantry, stockpile, food supply has gone crazy. And I'm going to explain that in a little bit. But I just gave you a snippet of what's been going on. And again, I'm going to explain that some more. But I'm going to bring Graham in on that because he's got some good insight and wisdom, and y'all love my husband. So, and you're all always asking for him and saying hello to him. So Graham's going to come and make an appearance and help me. But my husband's wisdom, it was actually interesting. Last night I had a situation and I was like, oh, what do I do? And so I talked it through with him. He was very calming, gave me some insight. And he was right in everything he said. And this morning in my prayer time, I felt like I didn't want to ask for anything. And I was just thanking the Lord for different things in my life. And one of the things I thanked the Lord for was Graham's wisdom. And I had to tell Graham that because it's one thing me telling the Lord, which I should be doing. But I think I need to tell him that because, you know, affirmation is, and building up, we need to build each other up. He needed to hear that as well. You know, he's the head of our home. He's my husband. He's my children's father. And he's a man of God that walks the walk, and what he talks to others about, he actually lives that in his own life. So it's just a little commercial break for my husband, but he is a very wise man. So I'm going to bring him in on this in just a few minutes. But one of the things I wanted to do is I have been wanting to do my pantry reorganization for months now, probably since September. And, you know, September, fall, holidays, Thanksgiving, throw it all in there, everything. Yeah, apple picking, the whole 9 yards. Christmas came, and who has time for this? I work full-time outside the home. I don't have time for this. Well, now it's gotten to the point now, my pantry floor is a mess. There's a shelf on this side, which is outside of our pantry, that was designed and designated for something else that has now been an overflow for the pantry. We now have a big Walmart box, a huge Walmart box. That was a Walmart.com delivery. That stuff is now piled in that, and it sits outside the pantry door. So in order to get in the pantry, I have to move the box to get into the pantry. It has now also gotten to the point where we'll just say, let's just go and buy, am I right, Graham? Let's just go buy a few things because we don't know what we have and we can't get to it. So we'll just buy that and use that up. Now, we are using it up. What we're buying and we're using. But I don't need to be living in the grocery store. I need to be living in my pantry. So I wanted to just talk about a few things, and maybe that will be inspiration for you to start regrouping, reorganizing, shedding some new perspectives on your stockpile, your pantry. Maybe this doesn't really affect you in terms of a pantry, but maybe another area of your life or another area of your kitchen. So I'm sitting on a little step stool right now, getting a little fanny fatigue here. So let me take you over to our dining room area, and I'm going to ask Graham to join us, and I'm going to fill you in on a few things that maybe you will find to be somewhat of an inspiration. So here he is, the one and only, the famous Graham Wilson. So Graham was listening to what I was saying while I was sitting in the pantry. And I was telling him before we started this video that there's two things that have been bothering me about people that do stockpiles and people that do videos and stockpile pantry videos and things like that. I was actually looking for some inspiration for myself on how to do a simple, and if you hear grunting and groaning, it's our dog sitting at our feet with his toys. So please just, bear with us with Kip. So, Kip, you need to be quiet, buddy. Shh, you have to be quiet. Yeah. So I just said to Graham that I was looking for inspiration on small stockpiles, small pantries, what to do. And everything I saw was clean and pristine. Now, if this is what yours looks like, this is not a put down. But for me, part of my YouTube name is Everyday Living. I live an everyday basic life. I would not say we're low income, but I would say we are moderate income. We don't live high on the hog. We don't get paid. We're not destitute. But there are people that are. We live in a very simplistic, minimal salary. Graham's on disability. I work for a ministry. I make what you would consider a missionary's level income, which is not a lot of money. We may do with what we have. We have become creative. But I looked at these videos and I was looking for like an everyday pantry, like a bathroom closet they've converted into a pantry, or an old cabinet they've converted, or a shelving unit. And almost everything I saw was a white wall with a white shelf with white canisters with white flowers, and everything was nicely labeled. And you could almost hear angels singing as they opened their 2-door pantry that you could walk in and almost fit a dining room table inside their pantry. I don't have that. I rent my home. You saw my pantry. You have seen my pantry. I have a tiny little pantry. It is a coat closet that is long and narrow that you can't really stand in very well. And so, as I said, I'm looking to regroup and reorganize, and one of those things will be is we have a spare room that I might want to tweak and do different shelving as we move forward and as we get some extra funds of shelving for our pantry. That's a whole nother thing down the road. But it has bothered me that just that, and we were talking about people's Christmas videos. I just did one with the things that I got, and I was excited. I wanted to share it with my friends. Mm-hmm. Most of my stuff I wouldn't say was would break the bank on, and it was from my husband, from my kids, from extended family. Right. It was from coworkers. But it started me to think that there are people out there that are destitute, that are low income, that don't have any money, that are a single man or woman living on Social Security, and things are tight. That's all they have. That's all the money they have. They can't afford to have a stockpile that's filled for the next 20 years. They're lucky if they have a few extra cans of soup, and even that could be a stretch. And I just want to kind of relate to, I think, more those people that are trying to live simple and live frugally, maybe because by choice, which is thumbs up to you, but maybe it's out of necessity that you just don't have a lot. If you want to have a stockpile, a pantry, and you don't have one, and you want to start 2022 correctly, in my description is how to start a stockpile for only $5. I did this last year. It was great. It has helped a lot of people. And and that has bothered me. And I want to just quickly jump in on one thing, and then I have not given you any opportunity to talk anyway, but I have a friend, and we always say we need 3 square meals a day, and it has to be perfectly balanced, and there's a chart we're supposed to follow, and when we raise our kids, they have to have so many fruits and vegetables, and yada yada yada. I don't know what it's like in other countries. I only know America. When I was a kid growing up, we didn't have as much of you just ate your food. Whatever was put in front of you is what you ate. Mom made it, you ate it. My parents, my dad grew up in the Depression, and my mom grew up after the Depression, but still in the 40s and 50s when things were basic meals and basic cooking. And that's what I grew up on, was basic foods. We had some cookies, but it wasn't an elaborate amount of snacks. Right. Graham grew up in Africa where it was you're extra hungry. 5 boys in the family. Go have a peanut butter sandwich. That was the highlight of the day.
That's right.
When you were hungry. I have a friend, though, that grew up poor. There were 5 kids in the family plus the parents, and they grew up dirt poor. And their biggest treat at dinner, if there was money, is they had a full sleeve of saltines and a jar of jelly for the whole family to share for dinner. Every night was crackers and jelly. And she said there are many times where they were lucky if they all got 1 saltine with jelly for dinner. 1. Can you and I picture eating 1 saltine with a little jelly and calling it dinner? You know, we'd have the headhunters out there of the balanced diet people saying, you can't feed your kids this. Well, I will tell you, she's gorgeous, she's beautiful, she's physically fit, she walks miles every day, I think 5 miles a day, and she does her steps, and she eats a well-balanced breakfast and a well-balanced lunch, and she still, to this day, close to her 60s, eats, her and her husband, crackers and jelly every night for dinner. In addition to that, they have tea every night. Now, when growing up, they couldn't afford tea. So there was a bush. Now, I don't know, her mom and dad knew enough about this, but there was a bush growing out in the back, and they could pull the leaves and brew up a pot of tea, and that's what they would have with their meal. It wasn't a balanced meal in what we would consider it to be, but to this day, she lives on it because that's what she grew up on. But back then, it was out of necessity. So you might be in a situation where your pantry only includes crackers and jelly. It's okay. And I want you to know there's a lot of videos out there that are very helpful, but there are not a lot of videos out there for people that cannot afford to have a super stocked pantry. Right. Now, with that being said, we started our stockpile 30 years ago because we ran out of food. I had to skip meals to pay to feed my husband and my oldest son when he was a baby until we got paid again. I had to skip meals, and I promised myself that would never happen again. The reason we were that broke, part of it was our choices of the way we spent money, right, the way we didn't save money, we didn't know how to really do a budget, and we didn't know enough to stock up. And you learn by your mistakes. And we learned, right, and we've always had a small stockpile of sorts since then.
Right.
In the last 2.5 to 3 years, it has exploded.
It has.
Like, overwhelmingly. Like, I'm overwhelmed by my stockpile. And now, you might look at it and go, there's not much in there. To some people, our stockpile is little. To other people, it's large. So, how did we get to the point we're at?
Well,
with stuff.
With stuff, what really happened was it started out very well, and it was very well organized. I remember you used to have it labeled with the colors and the stickers and everything.
Simple, clean, and organized.
Simple, clean, and organized. And then what happened was, over time, various people would donate us food, and they said, hey, I've been blessed.
We haven't asked for it.
No,
Never asked for it.
Never, but approached us, and they said, something happened in my life, and I would like to bless you with it. So, and I think you even mentioned there was an instance.
Yeah, there was an instance. It was 2 years ago when we first had the shutdown here in New Jersey. And I had someone that we sort of knew a little bit, not really well, that was coming to our church. And she called me on the phone and she said, my daughter just cleaned out her pantry. And I've taken whatever I can use, but I have some flour, some cereal. I have a few extra things couple canned goods that I can't use, and I thought of you guys. Would you like it? And I'm like, sure. We were at a point where we were kind of getting on the low end of a stockpile pantry.
Right.
Not to the point of starving, but, on the lower end where I would want to start. And now that there's going to be a lockdown, we thought, hey, this is a great opportunity. I don't have to shop. Someone's blessing us with this food. So long story short, she came. She said she had a few things for us. She opened up the back of her van.
Yeah. Let's just put it this way. It was not a few things.
It was like a grocery store in her van. And she said, what would you like? And I'm like, I don't know what you have. And then she said, take it all. I can't use it. And there had to be at least 10 big, huge boxes and bags. And there was fresh produce, there was flour, there was cereal, there were canned goods, there were coffee, there was tea, there was everything. It was unbelievable. So we had to pull our van up next to her van and unload her van into our van because we couldn't, and we had a meter at the end of our driveway, 6 feet, you didn't know, and nobody could go near each other when all this first started. So to keep her happy and comfortable, and
Yes.
she stepped away from her car, and we just loaded our car and drove it up to our house. That's how it started 2 years ago.
And what has happened now, excuse me, since then is every once in a while,
Like every other week
right,
for 2 years.
we have had the exact same thing happen. We have no hesitation sharing food, but people will call up and say,
I have some bags of food for
I
you.
have some bags of food for you.
Or we have found food on the doorstep. We have not asked. We're not complaining. This is called God's provision, and
Right.
He has blessed us above and beyond. And it's not the same person. It's random people.
Right. So what has happened is that what started out as a small
Pantry.
has now grown by leaps and bounds. And so to try and get the reins pulled in, we need to, do some
Reorganize,
Exactly.
rethink, come up with some new ideas, a new perspective.
And you were just saying the other day that on top of the fact that some other changes have happened in our family,
Right.
which have also necessitated us to make some changes as well. Tell us about that.
Well, like our oldest 2 kids bought a house. They're now a half an hour away from us, so they're not here often to eat. My dad has passed away. When my dad was here, he would be at our house every day for morning snack, breakfast.
Yeah.
He, ate breakfast, but liked a little extra, and lunch. And then we would make dinner probably 2 or 3 times a week for them, my parents, to take home. My mom volunteered at a thrift store in the area, and so my dad would drop her off and then stay at our house. So 5 days a week we had extra people we were feeding. That's all changed. Just in general, our circle of friends, we've had friends move, family move, just everything that our life encompassed has changed. Our whole dynamics of how we live life and it's just life. Life has changed, and we've downsized a lot of our activities and who we're
Yes.
feeding. We're 2 years older, 3 years older.
Yeah.
We don't mind a bowl of cereal at night for dinner. How many of you were with us? We had a huge Chick-fil-A. We treated ourselves to Chick-fil-A today. We ate lunch about 2:30. So it is now, what time is it? 8 o'clock at night. We're just getting hungry. So we're probably going to have a bowl of cereal or a peanut butter sandwich, just something light. And I told our son, we call it every man for himself. Our refrigerator is full of leftovers. Go find something. Use it up. So we need to rethink. And one of the things I said to Graham, and I read something, and I'm not going to quote it exactly because I don't want it to be derogatory in the wrong way, but I'll paraphrase it. I tend to get nervous. I can worry about what I should worry about. That's my personality. You know this. My husband worries about nothing. He doesn't have to worry because I worry about everything. But the Bible talks about not worrying and not being fearful. And I know some of you are not faith-based, and that's okay. That's between you and the Lord. But for me, I need to do what I know is right for me and what I know is truth. And the media and the lines at the grocery store, all the people in the lines that are talking that don't know what they're talking about, but that feeds into our brain.
Oh, it does.
And the media feeds into our brain. Whether you're on Facebook or you're watching, the news clips that come across when you do a search, and you watch TV, and then there's government things, and you know what I'm talking about. And we listen to this stuff as if it is all 100% truth. It is not 100% truth. Nothing is that truthful. You know, everybody has, even what I'm telling you is my perception, my vision, my perspective on things. To somebody else, they'll say, oh, Lynn doesn't know what she's talking about. This is my life and this is how I'm living it. But for me, I'm reading all this stuff and I've had to learn to take a sifter and sift it and find just what is truth and then leave the rest at the bottom. And I think with our pantry, you get like, I gotta stock up. I gotta buy. Oh no, they say this is gonna happen. Let me go buy 20 cases of tuna fish. Now, maybe where you are, the lifestyle that you live in, the surroundings that you live in, maybe you're in a very rural area, maybe weather conditions, right? We talked about this.
We talked about that.
That could all affect what and why you stockpile and store the extra food that you have. You have to make that decision for yourself.
Exactly.
We've made a decision that anytime someone gives us food, here's what we do. And we're going to go into this in a later video, but the gist of it is we take all the food we're given and we are grateful and thankful for every bag that comes across our way. And we tell people, can I share this? Like when they give us the food. And we take what we can use and we pass the rest on. We have several resources of people that we pass food on to.
Right.
We're constantly doing that. And if we hear somebody's in need, we go right to our pantry and we'll throw a bag together. And I have no problem with that. But I've also kind of felt the need to, over the last few years, out of fear, maybe I should hang on to that. Oh, maybe I shouldn't get rid of that. Maybe I shouldn't. Okay, 3 years later, now looking at my pantry, are there things in there that I will never use realistically? Absolutely. I don't need everything we have. I don't use everything we have. That's another video up and coming. What are we going to do with that stuff? How are we going to use that stuff and so on? Got some ideas going on here. But I just want to instill in you, don't have fear and don't have a fearful pantry. Don't build your pantry on fear. Don't build your pantry on somebody telling you that this is what you need to do. Look at your life. Look at where you are in life, how many people you have, what you really eat. I've done so many videos on this. Look at what you have, the space you have, the availability, what's around you, your disabilities. You know, my husband doesn't drive and my husband can't necessarily shop for himself. So okay, what are his options? We use Walmart.com, grocery pickup, Instacart. We use all of that. He can still fill a pantry for himself using other avenues, but it doesn't mean we have to buy 20 cases of tuna fish.
Right.
Saltine crackers or let's just say crackers and jelly will fill the belly. And if that's all you have right now, I want you to also know it is not forever. It is not always. Sometimes when we're in a situation which we've been in, you feel like this will always be the way it will be. And that's not the case.
That's right.
Life will move on. You will move on. You will move through life. Life will change. And we don't know what the future holds. So we should have a pantry stockpile. What were you saying to me about something about Joseph? What were you saying?
Well, you know, I was sharing with Lynn just the fact that, you know, the story of Joseph in the Bible, how he, in Egypt, the case that how he got them set up so that they had enough to be able to make it through that time when they had their lean times. But it's a case of having a balanced life. And it's not a case of hitting the panic button. Because had they had hit the panic button, things could have gone totally awry. But because God had the right man in the right position and letting them use their resources at the right time and in the right amount.
It was balanced.
It was balanced.
And they were taken care of.
They were taken care of.
So, really, it's your choice. It's your decision on what foods you need. And if you're in a place where you can only right now afford crackers and jelly and tea for dinner, I want you to know that it is okay. And I want you to know it's not permanent. And if you can afford prime rib for dinner and gourmet potatoes and whatever to go with it, that's a good thing too. There's nothing wrong with that. We are all in a different place in life, every one of us. And I don't know that any one of us have never had drastic changes in our life where we've seen things come and go. And you know what? Life is short. Don't stress yourself out over the things of whether or not you need to have 200 cans of tuna fish. You should have some things. You should stockpile. Mm-hmm. Clearly, you should have a few things on hand. If you have enough for a week's worth above your normal eating, you're going to be in good shape. Just wanted to jump on and just talk about how we are finding that our whole life is evolving, and that really affects our food and what we're going to keep on hand and how we're going to keep it. We've got lots more up and coming on this. Hopefully it's going to be a bit of an inspiration to you. But I also wanted to encourage you that if you don't have much, it's okay. We get it. We were there. We're not, we're beyond where we were, but we're not like, wow, we got all this stuff. We don't have that either. I just don't find a lot of people on YouTube that are really back to the basics, simplistic living. I'm not talking minimalism. That's a whole nother. I'm talking basic, simple living.
Yeah, there's a world
everyday
of difference.
Living. Like just plain and simple. I said to my husband, does anybody else have dishes in the sink? Does anybody else have laundry on the floor? Like, this is normal life. Normal life is not having a pristine house all the time. Not when you live life. I live life. I live life outside the home. I work full time. I have a husband and son on disability, and I take care of my mom now, and we have activities outside the home. Our life, we're living it. We're moving and grooving through life. There is not enough time for me to always have the dishes done and always have the wash done. That's not to say we should not have a well-kept house. I totally agree with that, and we're also reorganizing things in our home so that we can still continue to live life outside the home, and the home doesn't fall behind as much as it has been.
Right.
Which is a whole nother video series up and coming. But with that being said, if you're home all day and you can have a clean, pristine home, you go, girl. You go, guy. If you can do that, that's fantastic. But everyday living is what you're going to find on my channel. Simplistic living. Hopefully inspiration, uplifting. I don't want this to be, woe is us. No, not woe is us. We can do this, guys. We can do this. We can do it with our crackers and our jelly, and we can build a pantry. Thanks so much for coming over. What else do you have to say?
I was just going to share with you, which is one thing that you shared with me, is that there's nothing wrong with having a goal.
Yes.
My goal is to have a clean home and not clean it, but don't stress yourself out about it. Mm-hmm. There are times when I'm, things are going to happen on what.
Wake up with a headache.
Okay, I might have to get caught up or on or whatever, but don't get so stressed out about it. It's okay.
It is okay. And you're going to be okay. Thanks for coming over to our home. This is Lynn and Graham Wilson, and we're so glad you joined us today. Leave us some comments below on inspiration that you have found. Maybe you're rethinking your life, all that good stuff. Listen, if you're living on crackers and jelly, we'd love to hear from you. Don't be afraid to say something. And as always, if there's something we can be praying about for you, we'd be glad to do that. Leave that in the comment below as well. We'll catch you all in the next video. Bye.
Bye.